Good afternoon, good day, good evening. Welcome to this series of the interviews and chats with some of our Music for People grads. My name is Sharon Little. I am a grad from the year 2000, and my guest tonight is one of our newest grads, Leanne Darling, who started at about the same time. She's been in this program off and on now, we calculated, for a long time, for 25 years or so, about as long as we've been in. We have at New Music for People over 100 grads of our musicianship and leadership program. And we now are, we've been going now for 35 years. It's quite a remarkable story. And through COVID, we did a very fast, effective, successful pivot to complete online. And we're now in the situation here in the fall of 2021 where we're offering hybrid workshops, online, offline, and we've embraced what COVID has given us. And I just want to firstly, Leanne, congratulations, you did it. And
thank you.
Where you've just come back from New York City. You are based in Buffalo.
Yes.
I would just say a bit about your musical background, so that we can connect with some folks out here.
Sure. I started violin when I was 5. I was jealous of my older sister who had started playing piano, and I wanted to play something too. And my parents learned about the Suzuki method. And so it was a Suzuki based, not strict. And so I played violin exclusively until I was about 12, and then I wanted to play in a string quartet. So then I started playing viola in order to play in the string quartet, and then I kind of fell in love then, and became serious about it. And then I went to music school for both my bachelor's degree and master's degree. I studied in Europe for a year. And then I won an audition and played in an orchestra for 5 years. So that was kind of where I was at.
That's an interesting musical trajectory. I mean, it's very kind of typical of classically trained in some ways, particularly in strings. So there's that's a and on the way, there are these little interesting detours. And you were saying that in 1996, you came to your first Music for People workshop. So
Yep.
what was happening then that said, something in you said, I need to go and do this and learn to get off the page or whatever it was?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was I need to learn to get off the page specifically, although I knew I needed something. And it was just really interesting. I just always felt like there was something missing for me musically. And I just wasn't really sure what it was. And so I saw the ad in Strings magazine, and just so happened this guy has the same last name as me. We're not related. And I thought, how bad could it be? This looks kind of cool.
Right. The same last name can't be bad, right? Yeah.
Can't be bad.
Exactly.
And I also signed up for Marco Connor Fiddle Camp.
Okay.
The same summer, I was going to do both, but my father passed away in the beginning of the summer, and I'd realized I couldn't do both at that time, and I almost didn't do Music for People. I almost didn't go because I was still grieving. But then I talked to whoever it was at the time, I think Peter Hawes or somebody,
Okay, yeah.
and they were like, "Oh no, this will be good. We'll take care of you. It's so not, a challenging kind of environment. Like, it's a very supportive environment."
Right.
So
We're not going in for jury competition.
yeah, right. You're
Music school.
not gonna be under a lot of stress. So I chose not the fiddle camp, and I chose this.
And that shifted things for you.
Yeah.
It was
So it's like one of those amazing moments in your life that you always remember.
I think all of us can remember our first time at, no matter how long ago it was.
Oh yeah.
And there's a very clear, visceral, deep body, deep heart, deep centered, permanent shift. Something happens in our molecules, and I don't say that lightly. I think, in that
Mm-hmm.
expression, that first time when we're taken right out of whatever it is, or we're right into this, and at that time being in David Darling's heart, because he had that openness, which is filtered through all of
Yeah.
what we do, really makes a difference.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it happened on day one. Basically, day one, first maybe half of the day. I remember it so clearly. And it was just sort of like, I can do this, you know? Like, the improv was the missing link, and it was total permission. And then it was like light bulb went on, and I'm like, oh, okay.
This is the thing.
you know, it
So
just seemed that's like, boom, that's it. So simple.
so you so you did that one workshop, and then you came into the program a few years later.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was in an orchestra still in Florida, and eventually I just realized that I needed to pursue that path more completely. I kind of became slowly like shifted so that the concerts at the orchestra weren't as inspiring and as exciting to me. And I didn't want to go down the road that I saw a few of my colleagues going down, which were just real disenchantment with the whole music thing. And um yeah, that's just really sad,
Yeah.
and I just want to, I could tell I feel myself going down that, and I'm like, okay, no, something new needs to happen for me. So
And I think it's great that you had that experience first, and then you could
mhm.
recognize, because so many times classically trained musicians are in this,
Yeah,
we're in one laneway, and we don't really get a chance to try an exit, before
yeah,
finding, and we just go down that not realizing there's something else.
yeah,
Yeah. And so you went into the
exactly.
musicianship program, and then
Hmm.
had to stop,
I
and then you
moved to New
came.
York City. I moved to New York City so I could be closer to
Oh my
everybody
gosh.
who I'd met in. Oh yeah, Connie. Oh
Honey
gosh,
Barrett.
Connie Barrett,
Yeah.
cellist.
Yeah.
She helped me get a teaching job in Connecticut.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I branched off and I started doing all kinds of stuff.
So
So
what?
yeah,
Yeah, and then you've spent 20 years going through. So we used to have a 4-year program. It's 4 times a year for 4 years, and that
yeah,
worked while it worked. But
yeah,
as things that we've adapted, so you
yeah.
kept going back.
Yeah, I mean, it was just hard because I think as a musician, you have all of the, especially as a freelance musician in New York City, you kind of you're kind of a slave to the gig. So you have to be there for those gigs. And if you have to miss Music for People weekend, then that's what I had to do. Or I was studying Arabic music almost full time, or I was studying jazz almost full time, and there just wasn't room in my life for all of these things. So I had to kind of, okay, this time period I'm focusing on this and focusing on that, because I can't
You can't
I
do that.
can't diversify myself too much. Now I go nuts.
It's nuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nuts. But then,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I get it. And because I did the drive, right? I did the 12-hour drive
Mhm.
for 4 times, and but I had
Oh yeah.
decided I was doing it anyway. But so now we
That's
have a
great.
3-level program, which means that
Mhm.
people can kind of come in and out, and work it through their life, and a couple people are
Yeah.
doing it in 3 years, but they're also doing it 3 or 5 or 7 years. So tell me what has happened over these over the past 20 years musically for you, or personally, because we go through a lot of personal growth through this as well. This is so deeply transformative.
Well, I think it's came out of, I mean, I've done a lot of writing. I mean, just like solo viola loops, writing, that's kind of my thing. I have a looper and I experiment and I compose and I arrange. And I've been doing a lot of that and I continue doing that. That's kind of a steady path. I think what has shifted for me most recently is the teaching.
Ah,
You know, after many years of teaching more traditional stuff and kind of trying to live in both worlds, I felt like, and apply music for people stuff to my traditional teaching. I just really felt like, um, I'm here to kind of, shall we say, spread the gospel, you know,
well, just to
of
share
this
it and to,
stuff
yeah, to
and
invite
to
other
share
people
it,
in.
and I felt like it just, the time was right for me to kind of shift my focus away a little bit more from the traditional teaching, even though I do still do the traditional teaching. But especially, I think the pandemic for me really brought that into focus,
Mm.
as something that is just so important and becoming increasingly important, um, in these times, to really focus on the heart of what makes music so inspiring and life-changing and powerful for everybody, um, and to create more connections that way. Like, I
I'm
feel really a real need to for that.
for sure, yeah,
Um,
and I think that's something that we've been able to do the past couple of years. So when the when the world stopped and everything shut down, we opened up,
yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
everything was closed down. We found ways. Music for People found ways to open up, bring more people. We now have people in from all over the world in the MLP, and the other, another thing a few of us were talking about at some point is that because we have these improvisatory skills and these connections and communities, it may have been it's a skill set that probably helped us get through this with some kind of flow, because we can shift and pivot, because we can improvise, because we can kind of be in the heart of something and listen and stop and go into silence, uh, if we choose to do that. How did you find that?
Yes, absolutely. It completely kept me going throughout the pandemic. It was like probably the single most important musical thing, the only musical thing I was doing, was the MLP training and those weekends. It just absolutely psychologically and emotionally and spiritually kept me going. That, I mean, I had that, and then I had a group of close friends who I met with every week, and we did kind of music for people style improv and trying different stuff online and different technologies and
Yep.
multimedia and all this stuff. And yeah, between the two, I came out of the pandemic like, okay, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
This is just has to be a significant part of my life, because it's the best. It's the best. It just, like, I don't know. I transformed my whole week, month, year.
We had I hosted at some point right at the beginning of March or at the end of March. Another grad, Jana Moncrief, and I were chatting and thought, I haven't talked to you for a little while. We should have hey, how about we have a grad lounge,
Yeah.
and the grads at any time at any in-person music for people after the event, we all get together in whatever lounge there is. And I thought, all right, let's just invite the grads and we'll just have a lounge party.
Yeah.
We started that just off, as a one-off thing. It went from March 2020, March 27th, 2020, until the end of June of this year.
Yeah.
Every Friday night, some group of
Yeah.
grads, and it was life-saving in so many different ways, and that community of grads really got together. So it has been a lifesaver and um, a cool way to get through this and still be
Yeah.
able to find every way Zoom doesn't work for making music and the way it does.
Yeah, because I mean, I had so many colleagues who were so frustrated, with the latency and all the things, and I wasn't feeling it so much. I wasn't as frustrated just because with the improv you could just,
Yeah,
you make
lets it
allowances, you
work.
try different things.
Yeah.
It's a sort of it's its own thing,
And have it, and it was part of the improv, right? It was almost like we
It's
could have
part of
just
the
gotten
improv.
frustrated and gone away, or say, okay, well, this is what it is, let's see how we can work with this, as as it's part of the quartet, or it's part of the trio or part of the duet. It's just that is the you
And
know
it's still so special to kind of make this connection across,
yeah,
the ether, to someone who's 1,000 miles away.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
really special,
It has been. So what's up for you now? How is this going to go as you go more in person for playing and teaching and whatever else you're doing? How does the music for people training feed that for you now?
So I'm really excited because I feel like I've timed this pretty well. I have a local community center that I live about 4 or 5 blocks from in the west side of Buffalo, and they have a new artistic director and administration, and they were looking for things uh for their programs. And so I met with him last week, and I'm starting a senior program every other week doing music for people stuff, and I'm starting a teen. Like, one of the things that really worked well over the pandemic with like high school and college is a colleague of mine and I developed a songwriting workshop
Remember talking,
using
yeah.
kind of music for people style stuff and these, sound trap and band lab kinds of things, and it worked amazingly well. It was really, really fun. And so do songwriting with the teens, do little workshop with the with senior group, and then eventually also after school programs. And they got funding, and I'm also feverishly applying for grants, and so that's very exciting. And then also hopefully getting something going, just general, like a music jam in the community, possibly through University of Buffalo, just kind of a volunteer informal thing, um, and possibly turning that into a sort of satellite program here in for MLP in Western New York.
Awesome.
So it's all happening.
It's like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No, but they were saying at the community center, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrific. We've been looking for stuff like this. Our seniors been cooped up when they need activities, to reconnect." And so,
yeah.
yeah.
And this is
So
so like one of the music for people, right? The Bill of Musical Rights is, humans need to express themselves emotionally daily in a way that expresses emotion, and music, that's one. And music improvisation is a life skill, because we're all
yeah.
improvising anyway, but it is such a powerful life skill. I know that's so many people will go to their first workshop again and they'll go, oh my god, this is amazing. And we'll be able to get this in.
Yeah.
So those who would you, just as we finish up here, what would you say to, I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious, but I'm going to ask anyway, to burned out classically trained musicians or jazz musicians, because this is a very different perspective. You've got jazz background, I've got jazz background. It's a very different approach to improvisation than most jazz players are used to, because there's no lead sheet,
Yeah.
and it's a very, and you don't have your traditional jazz quartet. What would you say to a teacher, to a musician of any sort, if they are just in that place where they need, something new? What would you say to them? Good to
I
MFB.
just say I just say open be open and be curious, and it's okay if you still have those, like I still have the voice, the kind of more critical, evaluative kind of voice, like that kind of Beethoven is the ultimate thing, and and that, what is this silliness we're doing,
Yeah.
kind of
There's
voice.
always,
That's
it's somewhere, yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's okay to have that.
It's okay to have both going on.
Yeah.
What I found is that I've become friends with that little critical voice and just said, "You're all right. It's all good. You know, let's just explore this new possibility here." It's just sort of like welcome in that kind of feeling of curiosity, of openness, of possibility, that you might discover music in a completely new way, which touches you, you know um and but you won't lose anything in the process. You don't have to like reject one in order to open yourself to the other.
And the classical,
um
which you've got, feeds into the improv,
and ultimately that's the
right?
thing. Once you become familiar and comfortable, they all feed on each
Yeah, the
other.
technique is there, the form is there, the listening, the dynamic, the playing in a small ensemble, all of those experiences really, and that's where, I mean, music people started with that because David is
Mm-hmm.
classically trained, so he was bringing those
Yeah,
people in. So it still has that feel for it.
I
Yeah,
know it's tough. I know it's tough at first to 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 get there and to kind of let go. It's kind of like, though, it's like a process of any kind of thing with, at least for me being a string player, there's a lot of gestures and sensations and things that we have to unlearn.
yep,
It's the process of unlearning, like our thumbs. We're taught like this is a baby to clench, as a survival sort of thing. And then in order to play the viola, you have to unlearn that in order to really gain the facility on the instrument.
yeah,
It's the same kind of thing.
yeah.
It's sort of unlearning all of this stuff, and then you can kind of open yourself and just become more flexible and let more
It's like
in.
the clench, the claw on the bass, right?
Yeah,
And where,
yeah,
the thumb is jammed in, your fingers are jammed in, and you cannot move you
yeah,
can't
and
move the
you're
fingers.
really efforting,
You're really
and then
efforting.
yeah, and then it's so hard to kind of see across that bridge to a point where it's really possible to do this and not effort, right? But you have to just kind of let go for a second and go, oh, what if I try this? What if I let go of my thumb altogether and I just,
And then that
and
smooth goes back into your classical playing too. And has it, I know for me, it changed my classical playing, like, because I'm listening differently.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I teach this all the time in my more traditional, like if I'm teaching a viola lesson, it enters into somewhere in every single lesson.
Yeah,
So I think it's this kind of a life lesson, that
absolutely.
you can apply to just a small technique, or you can apply to how you view music in general, So, yeah.
I think that's a perfect place to end. This has been delightful. I'm so glad to bring you into our grad group now. We love bringing the new people in. And for those of you who are watching and might be interested, the ways to get in touch with us and get rolling is go to musicforpeople.org. We have a bi weekly newsletter. We have a Facebook page that is a Music for People page. So that is a public and open page, and that will keep you up to date. And we have events coming. Once you get onto the newsletter, the events are there. It's really easy to connect. And as you can see, there's really a huge, wonderful, loving community of people who will bring you in and hold you and lift you up. And we've all been through everything that you've been through musically and so on in this process. So we are so happy to welcome you as a grad, Leanne. Congratulations, you
Thank
did
you.
it. Seriously, I mean, it's a thing. It feels. And we
Yeah.
welcome everyone into our community in any way in which they will. We can we can help you. We can bring you in. Thank you very much, and
Thanks so much, Sharon.
thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.